Welcome back, dear listener. You've returned once more to this quiet corner of the night, where curiosity floats gently and the world begins to soften. Tonight, we step into one of the oldest and most impossible dreams, the idea that time, the ever-moving river we live within, might not be as fixed as it seems. You've felt it in daydreams, glimpsed it in stories, the question of whether we could ever leave this moment behind and walk into another, forward or back. Time travel. It sounds like fiction, but some of it is already part of our reality. The clocks you trust, the seconds you measure, the breath rising in your chest, they are not as steady as you think. Time can stretch and slow, bend and warp, not just in tales, but in the very fabric of the universe. So lie back, let your breath soften, let your body melt into stillness. You do not need to move quickly here, because tonight you are already travelling, through time, gently and without effort. And our story begins with the quietest truth of all, the clock you carry inside you. Time is not just what your watch measures. It is not only the ticking of seconds, the sweep of a hand around a numbered face. Time lives within you. It hums quietly behind your thoughts, pulses through your blood, and rests in the rhythm of your breath. Before you chase distant theories or imagine bending the laws of physics, you must first come here, to your body, to your breath, to the subtle ticking you carry without even noticing. You feel it now, don't you? That slow, steady rhythm beneath your chest, the heart beating always forward, never back. That is your first clock. Long before sundials and satellites, there was the beat of life itself. Every moment it marks becomes your past, even as you live it. You cannot hear your heartbeat without realizing that something is always slipping away. You wake each morning not just into sunlight, but into time. It surrounds you. It shapes your day. It gives your thoughts a direction. You make plans, remember yesterdays, worry about tomorrow, all while sitting still. You move through time even when your feet are quiet. But here's something strange. Time isn't always moving the same way for everyone, not even for every part of you. Your body keeps many clocks. There is the rhythm of sleep and waking, your circadian clock, humming to the tune of light and darkness. When morning light hits your skin, it nudges this inner clock awake. When darkness falls, your brain begins to pour melatonin into your bloodstream, gently reminding your body that it is night. These clocks aren't just habits. They're built into your biology. They guide hormones, temperature, digestion, even mood, all woven into time. But even this clock is not perfect. Fly to a different country, and your body hesitates. It does not believe the new sunlight right away. It clings to the old time, your own private past, and for a while you live in two rhythms. This is jet lag. Your internal clock disagreeing with the world. The mismatch feels like fog, like being slightly out of place in your own skin. And slowly, over days, your clock adjusts. Not because time changed, but because you finally agreed with it. Even without travel, your sense of time is fragile. Sometimes minutes feel like hours, and hours vanish in a blink. This is not your imagination. It is your brain. Time is shaped by attention. When you're anxious or bored, you examine each second, holding it up to the light like a coin. When you're joyful or absorbed, time spills through your fingers. You live a lifetime in a single breath, or miss entire hours like pages torn from a book. This elasticity is your first hint that time is not as solid as you think. It stretches and shrinks not just in theory, but in your lived experience. Your memory edits it, your emotions colour it, your focus bends it. Already your inner clock is a kind of time travel, not through physics but through perception. Think about memory. You remember your childhood, perhaps not clearly but vividly. A smell, a sound, a certain slant of light. And suddenly you're there. Your body might be older now, your location different, but your mind steps backward. It recreates the sensation of another time. It is not perfect, it is not precise, but it is travel of a sort. The past lives inside you, accessible through memory. In the same way, the future lives inside you too, through imagination. You picture tomorrow, you imagine next year. You make decisions based on visions that do not exist yet. Your brain simulates outcomes, tries paths, predicts weather, moods, responses. This ability to mentally project yourself forward or backward is called mental time travel. It may not change the universe, but it changes you. It lets you carry your story forward and backward like a thread. It lets you shape time without leaving your chair. But these inner clocks, these gentle tricks of the mind, are still limited by something larger, the physics of time. Even as your thoughts drift, your body obeys deeper laws. You cannot step backward into yesterday. Your cells divide forward. Your hair grows in one direction. Your body ages along a one-way path. This is the arrow of time, a current that carries all things toward the future, never the past. And yet, even this arrow can bend. Scientists have found that time is not a universal rhythm, but something woven into space itself. Time flows more slowly in strong gravity. It ticks differently at high speeds. These truths were whispered to the world by Albert Einstein, who showed us that time is not separate from space. It is part of it. It curves, it stretches, it reacts. But before we leap into the cosmos, before we follow beams of light or stand near black holes, we must pause here, with you, with your breath, with your own quiet clock, because understanding time, really feeling what it means, begins, not with equations, but with awareness. Awareness that you are never still. Even in silence you are in motion. Even as you rest, your cells are marching forward. Every breath you take is time passing. Every blink is a gate closing on a moment. You're not stepping into time. You're made of it. You're a living archive of seconds, carrying the history of your atoms, the rhythm of your parents' clocks, the legacy of stars. And perhaps, most humbling of all, you're a brief arrangement of particles that once did not exist and soon will not. A brief song in a longer symphony, a flicker in a much older flame. That flame is time itself burning through the dark. So tonight, as you lie in the stillness of your room, know this. You're not stuck in time, you're moving with it, riding it, shaped by it, and somewhere inside you, deeper than thought, older than language, a clock keeps ticking. It does not rush, it does not panic, it simply goes, and you go with it. In the next chapter, we will follow that motion outward, beyond the body, into the bending, beautiful mystery of time dilation. But for now, rest here. Let your own rhythm guide you. Listen not just to the ticking of clocks, but to the soft whisper of time moving through your breath. Time does not move the same for everyone, everywhere. You may think of it as steady, flowing like a river from past to future, touching all things equally. But step gently into the physics of the world, and you will find that the river does not flow at a constant speed. Sometimes it slows, sometimes it bends. Sometimes, in the quiet spaces between speed and gravity, time stretches, just a little, and that tiny stretch can change everything. You carry this understanding forward from where we left off, lying still, feeling the ticking inside your chest, sensing time move through you like breath. But now your attention turns outward. You're no longer listening only to your inner clock. You begin to wonder about the clocks around you, on towers, on wrists, on the walls of airports and train stations. What if they don't all agree? What if time moves differently, depending on where you are, or how fast you go? This is not just a thought experiment. It's a truth revealed by the universe itself. In the early 20th century, Albert Einstein gently upended the way humans thought about time. Before him, time was seen as absolute. One universal rhythm, ticking the same for everyone, everywhere. But Einstein looked deeper. He saw that time, like space, is not rigid. It is flexible. And he gave this idea a name that sounds simple, but holds oceans of mystery: relativity. According to Einstein's theory of special relativity, time slows down the faster you move, not in a metaphorical sense, but literally. Imagine two twins. One boards a spaceship that travels close to the speed of light. The other stays on Earth. When the travelling twin returns, they will have aged less. Their clock, both biological and mechanical, will have ticked more slowly. To the one who remained, more time has passed. The faster you move, the slower your time flows. This is called time dilation. And while it may sound like science fiction, it is not just theory. It has been measured. It happens. We see it in the precise ticking of atomic clocks on airplanes, which move slightly slower than those on the ground. We see it in the lifespan of particles called muons, which travel near the speed of light and live longer than they should, not because they change, but because time itself slows down for them. Think of time dilation as stretching a piece of cloth. If you walk slowly across the cloth, each step is even. But if you sprint, the cloth beneath you stretches slightly and your steps become longer. You do not feel it. You still move forward, but the space between your moments has widened. Now imagine this not as cloth, but as time itself. The faster you go, the more the minutes stretch out. Your heartbeat slows, your process is slow, but from your point of view, nothing changes. It is only to the outside observer, someone standing still, that your time appears to crawl. It is gentle, subtle, but very real. And so you begin to wonder, if time can be stretched, could it be stretched enough to leap forward, far into the future, while the rest of the world rushes ahead without you? The answer is yes, at least in theory. If you were to fly in a spaceship at near-light speed for what felt like a year, you could return to find that many years had passed on Earth. To you, only a short time would have passed, but to those waiting, decades might be gone. This kind of time travel as into the future, is possible. It is not magic. It is not fantasy. It is simply the consequence of moving very fast, of leaning into the speed limit of the universe. But there is a catch. To experience meaningful dilation, you must move at speeds that are far beyond what we can currently reach, close to the speed of the light, and such speeds require enormous energy. Our technology for now is too slow, too heavy, too limited. Still, even on Earth, where you stand, time is not perfectly synchronized. GPS satellites, which circle above the Earth, experience both effects of relativity. Because they move fast, their clocks tick slower. But because they are higher in the Earth's gravity, time also moves faster for them. The systems must account for these differences, tiny fractions of seconds, to remain accurate. Without correcting for time dilation, your navigation apps would quickly become useless. So, even as you lie still now, wrapped in quiet, you're living in a world where time stretches gently all around you. The clock on your phone ticks slightly differently from the one at the bottom of the ocean. A person living on a mountain experiences time just a bit faster than someone at sea level. The differences are small, but they are there. The fabric of time is not flat. It has texture. It bends with speed, ripples under gravity, and responds to motion like wind to sails. You begin to feel this truth not just as a fact, but as a sensation. You are part of this bending, as the Earth spins, as it moves around the sun, as the galaxy wheels through space. Your time is being gently stretched and pulled. You're floating inside a soft current you cannot feel, and yet it shapes every moment of your life. This leads to another thought. What is it like to live near something massive, something with gravity so intense that time truly slows? In the next chapter, we will drift towards such a place, a black hole, and feel what it means to stand at the edge of time. But before that, here, now, in the comfort of your room, you simply breathe. And with each breath you know this. The clock is not a prison, it is a river, and rivers do not always flow the same way in every place. Let yourself float, let yourself wonder. Because the stretch of time is not a tear, not a break. It is a softness, a flexibility, a quiet bending of what we thought was fixed. And the more you learn to feel it, the more the universe opens its hidden doors. You don't fall asleep, you drift. As if the bed beneath you were a gentle boat, rocking lightly upon some invisible current of thought. The walls around you blur. Your room becomes a quiet observatory of the mind. You're not thinking anymore, you're listening. And what you hear is the soft echo of a whisper, older than your body, yet familiar. It's Einstein's voice, not loud or commanding, but gentle, curious, the way someone speaks when they're more interested in wondering than in knowing. You feel the echo ripple through the room. Time and space, he begins, are not separate things. You picture them like two dancers, arms locked in a cosmic waltz, not partners merely moving together, but inseparable, like a single melody made of two notes. The world bends around their dance. You breathe deeper, slower. You feel it, the floor beneath you tilting ever so slightly. Not physically, but as a sensation, as if space itself was holding its breath. Einstein invites you to float beside his thoughts, not in a classroom, not in a lab, but on a quiet stream. You are the leaf, he says. Let the water carry you. You imagine his mind not as a storm, but as a slow river, curving around mountains of possibility. His thoughts shimmer in the current, not equations, not numbers, but feelings. You feel the bend of time like silk pulled taut around the curve of a globe. You feel speed not as motion, but as distortion, like sound echoing inside a tunnel. You remember what came before, your body as a clock ticking quietly. But now Einstein gently turns that clock on its side. He shows you that time does not tick the same for everyone, that near something massive, something impossibly heavy, time itself can stretch like warm taffy, pulled longer and slower by gravity's invisible hand. You let this settle into your bones. Imagine someone living on the top of a mountain and another in a deep valley. One of them ages just a little faster. Not in years you'd count, but in nanoseconds. Yet the universe notices, and it is in those tiny differences, so quiet, so subtle, that the fabric of the cosmos reveals its stitches. He shows you a train now, not a real one, but a thought experiment. One person stands on the platform, another rides inside the train, speeding near the speed of light. To one, a flash of light strikes at the center. To the other, it travels unevenly, distorted by motion. You watch this not with confusion, but with a soft smile. Because here, in the stillness of your own thoughts, the impossible feels understandable. It's not a puzzle, it's a painting. And Einstein's brushstrokes are made of time. You drift further into his imagination. He speaks of gravity not as a force, but as a shape. Mass curves space, and space tells time how to move. You picture a trampoline soft and stretched. Place a marble in its center, the cloth dips. Now roll a smaller marble nearby. It spirals inward, drawn not by some magic pull, but by the slope, the curve beneath it. And in that curve, time itself is altered. Seconds become different flavors, depending on where you are in that gentle dip. Now, imagine Earth. It's round, yes, but around it is space, curved ever so slightly. And as space curves, time slows. GPS satellites high above the planet tick faster than your wristwatch. They must be corrected every day, not because they're broken, but because Einstein was right. Time is not constant. It is local. It bends to where you are and how fast you're going. This doesn't make you feel small. It makes you feel included, as if you too are part of the great weaving of space-time. Your heartbeat, your breath, your stillness. All of it is folded into the same soft cloth. The universe is not far away. It is here. It is touching your skin, and it is speaking to you in a language deeper than sound. Einstein smiles without smiling. You sense it. He shows you the universe not as a machine, but as a story, one with characters and relationships. Time loves space. Space leans toward mass. Mass stretches time. They all hold hands and sway like seagrass in a current you cannot see. You ask him, without words, about time travel, and he does not laugh. He does not dismiss. He simply gestures to the curve. If time bends, he says, then perhaps, just perhaps, it can loop. If gravity can slow it, then maybe motion can fold it. The door is not closed. It is only hidden. This thought thrills you not like a lightning strike, but like the gentle unfolding of a flower. A possibility, not a promise. A horizon, not a destination. You're not being told what is real. You're being invited to explore what could be. He speaks of light now, the speed that binds everything. Light, he says, is the universe's speed limit. Nothing can go faster, not because of rules, but because of how the dance is choreographed. And in this, time finds its rhythm. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. A balance, a harmony, like a seesaw that never rests. You feel yourself drifting closer to the idea of black holes, places where mass becomes so dense, so curved, that time nearly stops. But Einstein holds you back gently. Not yet, he says. First, understand this. Space-time is not rigid. It is soft, and in softness, there is freedom. You imagine a traveller, someone who sails near a massive planet, moving swiftly across curved space. When they return, time has passed more slowly for them. To those left behind, they have aged less. You see the emotion in this, the reunion, the tears, the wonder. Time travel, not as science fiction, but as a side effect of the universe's deep truth. Einstein's secrets are not locked in vaults. They are not guarded by equations. They are sung in lullabies of light and curvature. And now, as you breathe in this gentle knowledge, you understand. Science is not only what you know, it is what you feel. You close your eyes, and you see not numbers, but patterns. The way time and space fold into each other like lovers in an eternal dance. The way mass cradles time like a parent holding a sleeping child. The way speed pulls gently on the fabric of what is. You lie there, wrapped in quiet, wrapped in the gentle, looping thoughts of someone who looked at the sky and saw questions instead of answers. Someone who, like you, once wondered if time was something more than the ticking of a clock, and now you are ready to go deeper, to venture toward the places where time does more than bend, where it breaks, stretches, warps, and twists, where light struggles to escape. In the next chapter, we will move toward one of the universe's most mysterious edges, the mouth of a black hole. There, you will not fall in. You will stand beside it and feel time unravel. But for now, you rest. And while you rest, the universe continues its dance, silent, curved, beautiful. You lie there, wrapped in quiet, wrapped in the gentle, looping thoughts of someone who looked at the sky and saw questions instead of answers. Someone who, like you, once wondered if time was something more than the ticking of a clock. And now you are ready to go deeper, to venture toward the places where time does more than bend, where it breaks, stretches, warps and twists, where light struggles to escape. In the next chapter we will move toward one of the universe's most mysterious edges, the mouth of a black hole. There you will not fall in, you will stand beside it, and feel time unravel. But for now you rest, and while you rest, the universe continues its dance, silent, curved, beautiful. Imagine this. You're no longer lying still. You're in motion. Not the motion of a body walking or running, but the kind of motion that tears the fabric of ordinary thought. You are moving faster than a plane, faster than sound, faster even than light would allow, and yet everything around you feels quiet, gentle, as if the wind has forgotten how to push against your skin. The journey begins not with speed, but with understanding what speed does to time. You remember the clock inside you, the one that ticks not in seconds, but in rhythms of thought and breath. Imagine that clock begins to slow as you move faster, not because the clock is broken, but because time itself for you is changing. This is not a metaphor. It is Einstein's gift to the dreamers and the restless, special relativity. When you travel near the speed of a light, time bends in your favor, hours stretch, minutes elongate. If you were to leave Earth at such speeds and return, you would find your friends older, the trees taller, your own reflection younger. Time has not betrayed you. It has simply flowed differently for you than it did for them. You're not alone on this ride. There are astronauts who have danced with this effect. Tiny, almost imperceptible shifts in time, recorded after months aboard the International Space Station. Their clocks, moving fast, ticked just a bit slower than ours on Earth. A fraction of a second, but a real one. A proof nestled into data. Now imagine scaling that up. Imagine a journey on a beam of light. You're no longer on a ship or station. You're inside the very current that light rides. Ahead of you, galaxies curve and colors blur. Behind you, time leaves a trail like a comet's tail. Your heartbeat feels slower, not from exhaustion, but from space's agreement with your speed. But here's the paradox. From your perspective, inside this light-speed voyage, nothing seems strange. You sip tea, you blink, you think, all in your normal rhythm. It's the rest of the universe that changes. The faster you go, the slower the universe seems to move around you. It is as if the cosmos has taken a deep breath and held it just for you. This isn't science fiction. This is the poetry of physics. Particle accelerators recreate this truth every day. Tiny particles like muons live longer when they're moving fast, not because they grow stronger, but because, in their speed, time gives them a longer leash. You walk beside those particles now in your mind. You watch them spiral through magnets, guided by invisible hands, stretching their lifespans in defiance of stillness. You feel what it means to escape the grip of ordinary time, and yet speed does not come without cost. The faster you move, the more energy you need. Near the speed of a light, that energy becomes enormous, so vast that no human could carry enough fuel. Nature seems to whisper, "This far but no farther." But in that whisper there is no cruelty, only elegance, a reminder that the universe has rules not to confine you, but to shape your wonder. You look out the imaginary window again. Stars no longer twinkle. They smear into arcs. The sky narrows ahead, blue-shifted, and stretches red behind. Even light behaves differently when you move so fast. You reach for the math, but instead find the metaphor. Speed is not just about motion. It's about the distance between moments. The faster you go, the farther apart each moment feels. Your memories become snapshots. The future, a blurred path you stretch into like taffy. You are the traveller, the witness, the question. In this future you ride toward, technology dreams of faster-than-light travel, of warp drives and space folds, of slipping through the cosmos like a hand through silk. But for now, those are dreams. Beautiful, necessary dreams that push against what we know, and what we know is already miraculous. You remember the twins, the famous thought experiment. One stays on Earth, the other rides a rocket near light speed. When they reunite, one has aged, the other has not. Their love unchanged, their memories split by time's curve. It is not a tragedy. It is a portrait of motion. In this portrait you are both twins. You feel the stretch of time, not in fear, but in awe, in how the universe lets you bend reality just by moving, just by imagining. You pause, not because the ride is over, but because you see something ahead, a shape darker than space itself, a place where speed is no longer enough to escape, where time no longer just bends, it breaks, a black hole. You're not afraid, not yet, because before you touch that edge, you must understand what it means to move toward it, not fall, not be swallowed, but approach. Speed got you here, time stretched for you, but ahead time will no longer cooperate. It will curve so deeply that even light will fail. You're still, floating, listening, and as you float, the thoughts gather again, like soft winds around your mind. You're on the fast lane to the future, and yet it is not the destination that defines the journey. It is the bending, stretching, glimmering path. It is the way time touches you back. You take one more breath, and in that breath, feel the slow humming pulse of everything, of time, of motion, of possibility. You take one more breath, and in that breath, feel the slow humming pulse of everything, of time, of motion, of possibility. You drift now, not forward but inward. The stars no longer trail across your vision like fireflies. Instead, they arc around something darker, something vast. It does not shine, it pulls. And in that pull you begin to feel the weight of time not as a tick or a tock, but as a long, slow tide that resists your every thought. You are near the edge, the event horizon, the boundary beyond which even light does not return. But you do not cross it. You hover near it, weightless, suspended in a moment that stretches wider than anything you've known. Around you, the stars seem to dance faster, streaking past as if trying to escape what you approach. But inside you, time thickens. Your breath, if it were still needed, would feel like it takes an eternity. Every heartbeat is a quiet drum that echoes through your body, slower now, softer. You begin to feel the strangeness of this place. Clocks far away tick normally, planets spin, comets trail, and galaxies whirl. But where you are, time has thinned. It clings to you like fog, like honey, like sleep. It is not just slower, it is deeper, like the seconds have grown roots. You try to look back, but there is no back. There is only the strange sensation that looking itself has become curved. Your thoughts bend, not in confusion, but in reverence. This place, this dark boundary, is not a monster. It is a teacher. Because here, near the black hole, time becomes visible, not with your eyes, but with your soul. You feel how gravity shapes time itself, stretches it, folds it, slows it down. You do not fall, because you are already inside a kind of falling, a falling that doesn't move, a still plunge. Imagine watching a friend drift toward the black hole. To you, they slow down, almost freeze, becoming a statue at the edge. But from their perspective, everything is still normal. They feel their heart beating, their breath steady. Time is personal, relative. Yours and theirs, now radically different. Both true. You reach out, not with hands, but with awareness. You reach toward understanding. Why does this place slow time? Why do black holes not just pull in matter, but also reshape reality? It is gravity. Not just the force you feel when you drop a stone, but the geometry of space itself. Black holes are where that geometry twists until the straightest line becomes a circle, where the fabric of the universe no longer stretches but collapses, and still you remain outside, just barely, hovering at the threshold. You are safe here, but altered. You're beginning to feel what time really is. Not a rhythm, but a texture. Not a line, but a sea. Everything that has ever fallen into the black hole is still there, or so it seems. But the closer you get, the harder it becomes to say where there even is. Inside, space and time swap roles. The pull inward becomes a journey through time itself. You can't escape because escaping would mean moving backward in time, and time does not run that way in here. You breathe again, or maybe you don't. Here, breath is thought, and thought is silence. As you float, you wonder what lies just beyond the edge. They say time stops, but that isn't quite true. Time doesn't stop. It just becomes something else, something not meant for your understanding. Not yet. You feel the pull of the singularity, that infinitely small, infinitely dense point at the center. You do not approach it, but its presence wraps around your thoughts like gravity wraps around light. You are held by it, even from afar. And slowly, something strange begins to happen. You look outward, and the universe appears to speed up. Stars blaze by in moments. Galaxies spin and vanish like leaves on the wind. Time for the rest of the universe has taken off running. It is not a trick. It is the cost of being near the abyss. Here, your seconds stretch so wide that entire civilizations could rise and fall in what feels like a breath. You are still. They are fast, and yet everyone believes their time is real. You think of clocks again. Tick, tock. Useless now. Time here is not kept. It is felt, like hunger, like sleep, like awe. This place is not empty. It is full of questions, of forces, of memory. You wonder if the black hole remembers everything it has consumed. If deep within it, the history of stars and planets still echoes. Does it forget? Or does it carry a quiet record written not in ink but in gravity? You do not know, but you sense that time here is not gone, only hidden, only warped. You float in that thought. Let it cradle you like a lullaby hummed by the universe itself. And then, a flicker. Not light, not sound, a sense. That ahead, in the stillness beyond the horizon, there is a doorway, but not back, not sideways, only forward. You could enter it. And what lies beyond? Perhaps the future, perhaps the end, perhaps a place where time restarts in a different shape. You do not enter, not yet. You are not afraid, only reverent, because time near the abyss is not cruel. It is honest. It shows you what reality does when pushed to its limits. It offers you a mirror, not of your face, but of your place in everything. And in that mirror you see a reflection that is not fixed. It bends, shimmers, changes with each passing breath. You realize now that time is not the ticking. It is not even the passing. It is the shape you make as you pass through. And the black hole, it is the silence that lets that shape be seen. You close your eyes, not in fear, but in wonder. You're near the edge, but you're not alone. And as you float there, still and slow, you feel the next question forming, not behind you, but ahead. What happens if you cross? You wait in the silence after the question, floating, breathing slowly. Time does not speak here. It shows. You try to look behind, back toward the glowing threads that brought you to the edge, but they blur. The light that once marked your journey has thinned, stretched too far to follow. You feel something shift, not outside, within. It is the pull of wanting to return, to rewind. But you know now, even without understanding all of it, that time does not welcome backward steps. You try anyway, just in thought. You picture the star you passed, the warmth of its presence, the way its light danced around your ship. You try to return to that warmth, but it is no longer there. Not because the star is gone, but because the moment is. That's when it begins to dawn on you. Time has an arrow, not a sharp, fast one, but one so sure, so steady, it cannot be broken. It does not pause, it does not split, it does not turn. The physicists call this the arrow of time. And now you begin to feel it for what it truly is. Not a direction in space, but in experience. The melting of ice, the fading of heat, the unfolding of stories. All of it flows forward, only forward. You imagine a teacup falling from a table. It hits the ground, shattering into 100 pieces. You can picture it clearly. But close your eyes and try to see it in reverse. The shards leaping together, reforming in perfect silence. The teacup whole again. You can imagine it, yes, but you've never seen it. The universe never does that part. It moves toward disorder, toward spreading, toward scattering. That's entropy. Entropy is not a villain. It's not chaos. It's not a mistake. It's a story, written in every snowflake that melts, every star that cools, every breath you take. It's the reason you age, the reason memories sit behind you, never ahead. You drift in this realization, slow and weightless. You're not falling anymore, not moving toward the black hole, not pulling away. You're simply here, listening to the hum of time around you. There's a stillness in this place, but it is not the kind that waits. It's the stillness of understanding that there are no rewinds, only recordings. You think of your own memories now, childhood echoes, a room you once lived in, the scent of something long forgotten. They rise, uninvited, uncoordinated. A song plays in the back of your mind, but you cannot recall the words. You see yourself sitting at a desk once, staring at a clock. You didn't know it then, but you were measuring entropy. Each tick was a step into disorder. Each second was a promise that the past was done being changed. You wonder why time should be this way, why it insists on moving forward. After all, the basic laws of physics, Newton, Einstein, Schrödinger, they do not care about direction. A planet orbiting a star, a photon bouncing off a mirror, a particle shifting through space. All of them can be reversed in the math. Time, to those equations, is just a number, positive or negative. But your life? It moves one way. It is irreversible. Some scientists say that the arrow of time emerges from probability, that it's more likely for things to fall apart than to fall together. A deck of cards shuffled is far more probable than one ordered perfectly by chance. It's not that the past is forbidden, just that it's so unlikely it becomes impossible. You let that idea settle, that the universe does not forbid reversal. It just forgets how to put the pieces back. Now the stars feel distant, not because they are far, but because they no longer seem permanent. You look at them and know they too are moving forward. Every photon from every sun is a goodbye, a message sent into time's current never to return. You turn your gaze back to the edge, to the black hole. It no longer frightens you. You know now that even the event horizon is not a wall, just a marker, a place where time stretches so thin it breaks its own rhythm, where forward still exists but moves differently, slower, stranger. You close your eyes, and in that pause you imagine what would happen if you did turn around, if you tried to walk backward through your own life, not in memory, but in motion. You imagine unspeaking a word, uneating a meal, unlaughing a joke, but you feel resistance, not from your body, but from time itself. The thread that pulls you onward will not loosen. You're not held here by gravity. You're held by the universe's one-way rule. Still, the idea tempts you, because the past feels safe, known, finished, while the future remains open, uncertain, like walking into fog. You try to understand why forward must be the rule, and then you remember it is in the nature of information. When you read a book, you gain knowledge. You cannot unread it. When you learn a truth, it changes you. You cannot be who you were before knowing. That is the real arrow of time, not just entropy, but growth, change, accumulation. You think of memory now, not as a storage space, but as a trail, a set of footprints showing where you've come from, each one marking a moment when something became real. You cannot walk backward on those prints, but you can stop, look down, remember. That is your only power over the past, remembrance. You hold on to one now, something soft, maybe a smile, a voice, a feeling that still warms. You do not try to bring it back. You simply sit with it. And slowly you realize something. The arrow of time is not a punishment. It is permission to move, to try, to be. If the past could always be undone, nothing would matter. There would be no weight in choices, no strength in love. You would say goodbye knowing you could always take it back. But because time moves forward, what you do now matters. What you choose now echoes. You open your eyes, still floating, still quiet. The black hole hums behind you. The universe stretches ahead. You feel no fear, only a deep, anchoring presence. Time is not your enemy. It is your medium. The way a painter needs canvas, the way a musician needs silence to fill. You're not outside of time. You're inside it, like a fish inside water, breathing it, moving through it, becoming through it. Ahead, you feel something stir, not a force, but a concept, something waiting to be explored. You think again of entropy, of arrows, of what makes time behave like a story instead of a loop, and then a new question forms, one you've never asked before. If time can't turn back, then what exactly does it turn into? And in that question, you feel the next chapter begin to whisper from the future. If time cannot turn back, you wonder, then what becomes of the past? You float forward, not in space, but in thought. Each second stretches like taffy between your fingers. The black hole lies behind you, humming like a forgotten song, not menacing now, only distant. Ahead, stars flicker like candle flames under a cold sky, but your attention is inward. The questions are not quiet anymore. They tap against your mind like soft rain. Could you go back? Would you want to? You picture yourself standing in your childhood room, not as you are, but as you were. Small, curious, fragile in that beautiful, unknowing way. What would you say? What would you warn against? Could you prevent a scar, a sorrow, a mistake? And yet, the moment you ask it, you feel the tension tighten like a violin string pulled too far. Because to go back, truly back, means to step on threads that are woven into everything. Tug one, even gently, and the whole tapestry shifts. The smell of one flower picked too early, the choice not to cross a street, the delay of a train. Any of it could ripple outward, rewriting echoes you'll never hear. They call it the butterfly effect. A single flap of wings in one part of the world can stir a storm in another. And in time, the butterfly's wings aren't just fluttering air. They're rewriting memories, shifting futures, inventing new presents. You find yourself drifting into a story, not yours, but one told often in whispered thought experiments. A scientist builds a machine. It hums with possibility. It doesn't move through space, but through time. He steps inside and goes backward. Not far, just a few decades. He meets a young woman. They talk, and without realizing it, she becomes pregnant with a child who, one day, will build a machine and travel back. You blink, because you see it now. The loop, the impossibility. What if the man never existed until he travelled back and caused his own birth? What if there was no beginning, only a circle spinning on itself? This is the paradox, not a puzzle to solve, but a mirror too smooth to hold. The grandfather paradox waits behind it like a ghost. What if you travelled back and stopped your own ancestor from existing? Would you vanish? Or would something stranger happen? A split, a crack in logic so deep it bends the idea of cause and effect. Time, you realize, doesn't like being tangled. It resists loops. It favors direction, a flow from before to after, like ink poured into water, never unmixing. That arrow, it points forward not out of habit, but because of entropy. The slow drift from order to disorder, the cooling of stars, the melting of ice, the aging of skin. You try to picture it all unhappening, a broken glass reassembling, a burnt page unburning, a goodbye unspoken, but it slips away. Your mind recoils, not because it's impossible, in the math it might be allowed, but because it feels unnatural, against the grain of everything you've known. And so, you think again of ghosts, not the kind that haunt houses, but the kind that haunt thought. Paradoxes are ghosts of logic, things that once made sense until you chase them too far. They live in mirrors, in thought experiments, in bedtime what-ifs, and you, tonight, are their guest. You let yourself wander into a hallway of them, quiet rooms of contradiction. In one, the famous cat waits, Schrödinger's companion, alive and dead, both, until someone looks. A paradox of observation, of knowledge, of what it means for something to be. In another, twins orbit stars at different speeds, one aging, one not. Relativity draws timelines that disagree, not because the clocks are broken, but because time is not absolute. And in yet another chamber, you meet yourself. Not now you, not even past you, but an alternate you, the one who chose differently, the one who didn't turn left that day, the one who said yes instead of no. They smile at you with a face you know too well, but eyes full of stories you never lived. Could they exist? Some theories whisper of branching timelines, of universes blooming like dandelions every time a decision is made. Infinite yous, walking infinite roads. Most will never meet, some might never diverge, but a few, just a few, might glance across the veil and wonder who blinked first. The idea unsettles you, not in fear, but in awe, because if every possibility blooms somewhere, then nothing is wasted. No choice is final, no mistake is forever alone. Still, your mind returns to the line, the one that time seems to draw, not as a circle, but an arrow, forward, always forward, even if it loops, even if it splits, even if it trembles at the edge of paradox, it still moves. It doesn't pause to ask permission. You feel the difference now between memory and time travel. Memory is a gentle ghost. It lets you visit but never touch. You walk its halls with soft feet brushing walls you once leaned against. But you cannot open its doors. Time travel, if it were real, would be different. It would be disruption, invasion. A hand reaching into a painting to move the brush. And so, perhaps paradoxes aren't warnings, they are boundaries, markers telling you where thought must stop and wonder must begin. You drift again, not aimlessly, but guided by the gravity of curiosity. You imagine a world without paradox, a flat timeline, one story, one thread, no detours. It feels clean but cold, predictable but lifeless, like a road without turns, without hills, without forks. Then you imagine the opposite. Chaos, every moment branching, every decision exploding into infinite directions. Too many U's to count, too many paths to follow, a maze without a center, and in between, the world you live in. A strange, balanced dance, enough order to make meaning, enough randomness to make surprise. You see now why the universe allows paradox in its equations, but rarely in its events. They are warnings, yes, but also invitations. To look deeper. To ask not just what is, but why can't it be otherwise? You close your eyes again, not to escape, but to let the questions settle. You feel the weight of untraveled paths behind you, the warmth of possibilities ahead. You're not lost, you're in motion. A new image rises in your mind, not a clock, not an arrow, but a spiral. Forward moving but looping upward, always climbing, always turning. Maybe that's what time really is, not a line, not a loop, but a spiral staircase in the dark. And each step you take, each chapter you open, brings you higher, closer, deeper into what it means to exist. You pause on the landing. You think of paradoxes once more, not as threats, but as reflections, places where thought outpaces language, where logic fails but truth waits. And just before the next door opens, a final thought passes through you, as gentle as a breeze, as deep as an echo. Maybe ghosts don't haunt us. Maybe we haunt time. The staircase fades behind you, though its spiral echoes in your thoughts, rising, circling, folding inward. You've paused on a landing of paradox, of haunting truths, of shadows that look back. And now, as you open the next door, the air feels different, lighter, curved. You step forward, not into a room, but into a hallway that bends, not left or right, but through itself. You walk with care, feeling time under your feet like velvet. Here, space is not flat. The path ahead seems to ripple like a pond disturbed by thought alone. Somewhere, softly, a whisper begins, not in your ears, but in your mind, as though the universe is telling a secret only you are quiet enough to hear. The whisper says, "There may be bridges." You pause. Not metaphorical bridges, not poetic ones, real ones, built not of stone or steel, but of space-time itself, wormholes. You've heard the word before, in stories, in science, in dreams that involve blinking from here to there without crossing the in-between. But now you let the word deepen. You let it become what it is, a tunnel, a possibility, a folding of reality so elegant it slips past common sense. Imagine a sheet of paper, flat and wide. This is space-time as you usually know it. Two dots drawn far apart may seem unreachable without a long walk. But if you fold the paper so those dots touch, the path becomes instant, effortless, real. That's what a wormhole would be. Not cheating the laws of distance, but reinterpreting them. A whisper made solid. But whispers are fragile things. You move slowly, as though the air itself could tear. You begin to feel the boundaries of what's known and what's still being dreamed. Wormholes are not inventions of science fiction. They are serious solutions to Einstein's equations, allowed, in theory, by the general shape of space-time. They are called Einstein-Rosen bridges, after the minds that shaped them into mathematics. In their simplest form, they connect two black holes, or perhaps a black hole and a white hole, a theoretical sibling that spits out what the black hole swallows. One end devours, the other gives. You wonder, could a traveller step into one end and emerge from the other, not just elsewhere, but elsewhen? The thought brushes your mind like silk. It feels almost possible, almost tender, but it is wrapped in warnings. These bridges, if they exist, collapse almost instantly. Like dreams upon waking, they vanish before you can hold them. Their throats close too fast for light to pass through. Gravity, the very force that builds them, also destroys them. The same fingers that shape the tunnel crush it shut. But minds are clever. The whisper grows stronger. What if we held it open? This is where exotic matter enters the story. Not alien, not monstrous, just different. Matter with negative energy, negative pressure. Something that resists collapse, that pushes outward where gravity pulls in. Such matter has never been touched, but its shadow exists in equations, like a ghost in the folds of the universe. You imagine placing such matter around the edges of a wormhole, like scaffolding for a bridge suspended in the void. With enough of it, perhaps the tunnel would stay open, wide enough, stable enough, long enough to step through. But the math you sense is uneasy. Every solution requires a price. Even in thought, the universe insists on balance. To open a door through space and time, you may need to borrow energy from the fabric of existence itself. Some physicists worry that creating or stabilizing a wormhole could violate the known laws of energy conservation, or worse, allow violations of causality. The traveller could return before they departed. Loops could form. Paradoxes would pile like snow. You breathe slowly, letting the tension in the idea dissolve. It is not forbidden, this travel. Just fragile, just delicate. Like a spider's web spun between stars, trembling at every breeze. Some models suggest that if wormholes were naturally occurring, formed in the early universe during chaotic expansions, they might still be out there. Tiny, curled, hidden inside the quantum foam. You picture space-time not as a smooth ocean, but as a frothing surface, full of bubbles, creases, flickers. In that froth, perhaps there are microscopic tunnels, too small to send anything through now, but maybe, your thoughts turn to time if one end of a wormhole stays still and the other is taken on a journey, moving at high speed or placed near a strong gravitational field. Then time will pass differently for each mouth. Just like the twins of special relativity, the mouths age apart. When reconnected, stepping through might mean stepping into another time, not just elsewhere, but elsewhen. This is not fiction. This is consequence. You find yourself on the edge of understanding, standing beside Kip Thorne, who explored such ideas not for fantasy, but to test the limits of what physics allows. His calculations, made famous through films and thought experiments, do not promise time travel, but they do not fully rule it out. Still, the universe is cautious. The chronology protection conjecture, whispered by Stephen Hawking, suggests that reality may prevent backward time travel, that quantum fluctuations, feedback loops, or instabilities would always rise, tearing apart the wormhole before a paradox can be born. You pause here, letting that thought settle. Perhaps the universe isn't saying no. Perhaps it's just saying, not like this, not through shortcuts, not without risk. The tunnel ahead flickers. You imagine walking into one, light bending, space folding, time stretching. You hold the walls with your fingertips, which are not touching stone or metal, but the very geometry of reality. The corridor narrows, wavers, breathes. It feels alive but fragile. It hums with possibilities and warnings. In some stories, wormholes are gateways to distant galaxies. In others, to other times, to alternate histories, to versions of yourself you've never met. But in the calm of this chapter, you know something deeper. Even the wildest structures must still obey quiet rules. You're not denied wonder. You're only asked to move gently. A memory rises, the spiral staircase. Each step you take is a shift in understanding, a change in height, in light, in view. Wormholes are not leaps. They are steps folded tighter, closer, curves in the spiral. They promise no escape, only new directions. And even as you reach toward them, they may not reach back. Still, they are worth imagining. They remind you that space and time are not rigid, that the rules you live by, forward, outward, linear, are only part of the story. As you stand in the soft glow of theoretical bridges, you feel no need to walk through. It is enough to listen, to wonder, to understand that if the universe allows such whispers, it also allows you to hear them. You close your eyes, the tunnel fades, the whisper remains. Maybe it's not about using wormholes. Maybe it's about knowing they could be there, folded into the quiet corners of creation, like notes left between pages. And maybe, when we are ready, not in speed, but in softness, we will step through, not to escape time, but to meet it. As you stand in the soft glow of theoretical bridges, you feel no need to walk through. It is enough to listen, to wonder, to understand that if the universe allows such whispers, it also allows you to hear them. You close your eyes, the tunnel fades, the whisper remains. Maybe it's not about using wormholes. Maybe it's about knowing they could be there, folded into the quiet corners of creation, like notes left between pages. And maybe, when we are ready, not in speed but in softness, we will step through, not to escape time, but to meet it. Now, as that thought dissolves into silence, something else begins to take form. Not a whisper this time, but a boundary, a shape that emerges not from movement or imagination, but from light itself. You feel it before you see it. A cone, rising gently around you like dawn light from a single match in the dark. You're standing inside it. You always have been. This is your light cone. The past, they say, is the light that has reached you. Every signal, every influence, every gentle touch from the universe that has arrived in time to shape who you are. The future is the cone that stretches forward. All the places you could possibly reach, all the people, the atoms, the galaxies your next step might influence. Everything outside this cone, it is elsewhere, not unreachable forever, but unreachable now. You breathe deeply and imagine the world from above, a pinpoint of you in space and time radiating forward and backward, light spilling out and pouring in. The cone behind you collects every starlight that has touched your skin, every ancient photon now a memory. The cone ahead marks where you might shine, where your next thoughts may ripple. But this cone is not merely a poetic shape, it is a rule, a quiet, unbreakable boundary stitched into the laws of relativity. Information, no matter how urgent, cannot travel faster than light, and so the universe limits not your imagination, but your influence. The very fabric of time wraps you in a gentle envelope, and within it you are free to move. Outside it, you are a ghost. Imagine a supernova exploding millions of light years away. Its light races across the darkness, trying to reach you, but until it arrives, if it ever does, it remains outside your past light cone. You cannot know it, you cannot act upon it. Its existence does not yet belong to your story. Now imagine a decision you will make tomorrow, a word you will say, a kindness you will offer. These ripple forward, like rings in water, but only within your future light cone. They cannot leap across galaxies in an instant. They cannot change what lies too far, too fast. Your influence, too, is a cone. Narrow at first, spreading slowly with time. You move through this geometry not as a prisoner, but as a traveller. The cone is not a cage, it is a path. You're the centre of its unfolding, the tip of its bloom. Time stretches forward not as a straight line, but as a widening spiral, drawn gently by the speed of light. And within this cone, the possibilities are infinite, but not random. You think of the rules, no cause before effect, no message faster than its meaning. This is how time keeps its integrity, by insisting on sequence. Even in dreams of wormholes, of backward travel, the cone still whispers, respect the boundary. Inside, things can touch. Outside, they can only wait. Your thoughts drift now to the idea of simultaneity. You once believed in a universal now, a shared moment where clocks chime together across the cosmos. But relativity brushed that belief away, gently. Now is not the same for everyone. Two events that seem simultaneous for you might be staggered for someone else, moving differently. Each observer carries their own slice of time, but inside your light cone, your now remains coherent. It is the patch of space-time that belongs to you, that aligns with your heartbeat and breath. Here your clock rules. Here your past is fixed, your future still soft. You remember being told, nothing can go faster than light. It sounded like a barrier, a wall. But now, standing inside your cone, you understand. It's not a wall, it's a rhythm. The universe dances to the speed of light, and everything that exists, all particles, all lives, moves to that pulse. Even time travel, if ever real, would have to honor this cone. You cannot skip beyond it without tearing something vital, without breaking the dance. There are moments when the cone shifts, when a strong gravity field curves it inward, narrowing your future, slowing your clock. Near a black hole, your light cone tilts, drawing your path inward toward a single point. Your freedom narrows, but your path remains real. You imagine this narrowing as a hand on your shoulder, not to stop you, but to guide you. The universe is not cruel. It is careful. It wants you to step with intention. Now, turn your thoughts to causality, the rule that says every effect must have a cause within its past light cone. Drop a pebble in a pond, and the ripples must come after. Whisper a word, and the ear that hears it must lie within your cone. This is how the world stays consistent, how time remains trustworthy. If wormholes or other paths allowed you to escape your cone, to leap into your own past light, you risk loops, paradoxes, violations. You could cause something that erases your own cause. A paradox not just of logic, but of physics. This is why the cone matters. It is the silent guardian of coherence. You stand in your light cone like a lighthouse in fog. Your beam can only reach so far, but within that beam, you have full agency. You are both signal and receiver. You shine, you reflect, you echo. You wonder now about choice. If your actions can only affect what lies ahead in your cone, and your memories only gather what lies behind, then time becomes a funnel of becoming. Each moment, you're given a new circle to shape. The cone widens with each heartbeat, and your touch spreads outward. The limits become a canvas. You drift now into the quantum realm, where uncertainty and potential dance at the edge of your cone. Each possibility remains unchosen until your cone arrives and touches it. Like light arriving at a film, like ink on paper, the act of observation writes the moment, but always, always within the cone. Even the wildest speculations in physics, parallel worlds, multiverses, entangled particles, still respect the speed of light. The cone may bend, stretch, warp, but it remains intact. Its shape holds meaning. Its presence marks reality. You pause to imagine how many cones are intersecting now, across the universe. How many lives are unfolding inside their own geometry, each shaping and shaped, each bounded and blooming. You are not alone. Every star, every cell, lives inside its own cone. You're all lanterns moving through the same darkness, casting spheres of light forward and behind. Some overlap, some remain distant, but all follow the same rhythm. Even love, even memory, they must respect the cone. You can long for someone across a galaxy, but your longing cannot reach them faster than light. And yet, when the cone allows, when paths align, the connection becomes real. You feel this limit not as cruelty, but as elegance. The universe sets the speed of light not to trap you, but to give everything time to unfold. Without this limit, meaning would vanish, sequence would blur, causality would dissolve. You look back now at the whisper of wormholes, tempting shortcuts through time and space. But even they, if they exist, must respect the cone or account for its breach. The moment a traveller steps through to the past, the cone shifts, and with it, the risk of unravelling causality. This is why some physicists believe nature protects itself, that any true violation of the light cone would be smoothed away by instability, by quantum corrections, by the universe itself saying, no further. But within your cone, wonder is limitless. You drift again in thought, imagining the future light cone of a single decision, a word spoken, a kindness offered, a thought explored. The ripples expand, not chaotically, but within the cone's widening arms, like a breath, like a song. You realize this cone is not just physics, it is your story. It marks what has shaped you and what you can shape. You live in this cone not as a prisoner, but as a painter. And as you step from moment to moment, the cone moves with you, like a lantern carried on a quiet path. You illuminate the world slowly, carefully, one circle at a time. You do not need to reach all things, only those meant for your light. And as you soften into this understanding, another thought stirs, not of limits, but of patterns, of crystals that move in time instead of space, of frozen rhythms, of structures that shimmer in clocks, not stones. But that is another whisper, one that waits just ahead. You carry the quiet glow of your light cone forward, stepping gently into the space between one realization and the next. Behind you, time had a shape, a cone of possibilities stretching from your past to your future. But now something subtler calls to you. Not a path, not a boundary, a rhythm, a pulse. Not in space, but in time. It is as though the universe is tapping a gentle finger on the surface of still water, and you are being invited to feel the ripple. There is no rush. You rest in the hush between beats, wondering what it would mean for time itself to beat. Not just pass, not a flow, but a drum. Not a clock that counts forward, but a crystal that pulses, even when nothing moves. You remember the frozen lantern of your light cone, the quiet circular glow you carried through the last chapter. Now that light seems to pulse on its own, without you. Somewhere, deep in the folds of quantum research, a group of scientists imagined something strange. A structure that changes not in space, but in time. A time crystal. It sounds like a dream you once had as a child. A clock made of snow, ticking even when the world stands still. A frozen rhythm. A contradiction that somehow breathes. You picture a crystal, not the kind that catches sunlight in a window, but something hidden in a quantum lab, small enough to vanish into silence, yet humming with regular motion. Not because someone wound it, not because energy was added, but because the structure of the universe allowed it to repeat itself in time. A system that shifts endlessly, predictably, without draining any power. You float now through this idea, this impossibility made real. In traditional crystals, the kind you hold in your hand, atoms arrange in repeating patterns through space, a grid, a lattice, like the tiling on a floor or the hexagons of a honeycomb. Each part knows where to be, but a time crystal does something different. It repeats not across distance, but across moments. Imagine a pendulum that never stops, not because it's pushed, but because it's allowed. It moves through time, changing in perfect loops. It defies equilibrium, that quiet place all systems tend to settle, and yet it doesn't break any rules. It simply dances within them. Your breath slows as you try to picture this. It's like a heartbeat that persists without a heart, a memory that never fades, because it never truly ends. The time crystal lives not by resisting decay, but by never needing energy in the first place. It becomes a kind of quantum metronome, echoing through a silence no ordinary clock can hear. You wonder what this means for you, for the way you think about time. You've learned that time can stretch, slow, and bend, that it can be pulled by speed or warped by gravity, that it moves forward with the arrow of entropy. But this is something else. This is time, folded into itself, not marching, not even cycling, just shimmering. You sink deeper into the thought. In 2012, physicist Frank Wilczek, a Nobel laureate, proposed the idea of time crystals. He asked a simple question. If crystals can be ordered in space, can they also be ordered in time? Can a system repeat at regular intervals, not through distance, but through duration? At first, the idea was met with skepticism. How could anything move without energy? Wouldn't that violate the laws of thermodynamics? But the universe is stranger than rules sometimes suggest. In 2016, researchers discovered a loophole. Not a breaking, but a bending. Using a chain of qubits, tiny quantum bits, they managed to coax out a behavior that pulsed, over and over, without adding energy. The qubits flipped in a rhythm, locked into a cycle like dancers in a time loop. They called it a discrete time crystal. This is not perpetual motion, you learn. It is not free energy or magic clocks. It is something subtler, a system driven by a regular push, like a child on a swing, but which responds in a rhythm that is not in sync with the push. It pulses at half the frequency, like a heartbeat echoing between seconds, a delayed mirror, a pattern born not from energy, but from structure. You let that sink in. Half-frequency oscillation, time broken into mirrors, response that does not follow input, not exactly. In this you sense something deeply poetic. Not every action must follow precisely, Not every tick must echo the tock. There is space for rhythm, for harmony, even in the laws of time. You wonder, if time crystals exist, what might they teach us? Could they be used to build better clocks, ones that don't drift? Could they store information, preserve memory, or become a foundation for quantum computers? Perhaps. But perhaps, too, they whisper something deeper. That time itself may hold pockets of stillness. That change need not always cost energy. That persistence can be quiet. You drift through these thoughts, and they begin to feel personal. How often do you feel pressure to move, to act, to change? And how often do you wish for a kind of inner time crystal, a part of you that pulses gently, regularly, without force? Could this rhythm exist in you too, not driven by need, but by the quiet structure of who you are? Your heartbeat is a rhythm, your breath a rhythm, your sleep, your dreams, your thoughts, all unfold in patterns. Perhaps your consciousness too follows cycles. Maybe memory is a time crystal of the soul, repeating not facts but feelings, echoes of what has mattered. You begin to listen differently, not to time as a stream but as a pulse. You hear the way day and night take turns, the way seasons return, the way your own thoughts revisit old questions again and again, not to resolve them, but to hear how they sound now. You're not static, yet not random. You're a rhythm in waiting. Science begins to feel like poetry again. Time crystals, you realize, are not just theories, they are metaphors. They ask you to consider time not as something you race through or resist or try to outsmart, but something you might inhabit gently. A room, a rhythm, a place to be. You think of crystals frozen in snowbanks, of frost patterns on windows, of the delicate lace that ice makes when it grows in silence. Maybe those are space crystals, atoms repeating in stillness. But somewhere deeper, in the invisible places of the quantum world, another pattern unfolds, a ticking, a shimmer, a frozen clock. You close your eyes and picture it, a world where change does not require force, a place where time can echo softly without consuming anything, where movement is not always motion but gentle transformation. You're not a machine ticking because you must. You are something else, something alive with quiet cycles. You return now to the question, is this a new kind of time, or is it a reminder of something you already knew, something you carried long before science gave it a name? Perhaps all of existence hums with this rhythm. Galaxies rotate, electrons spin, cells divide, thoughts loop, love returns, everything cycles, yet nothing quite repeats. And somewhere in that pattern, in that shimmer of almost, is a time crystal beating in the dark. You rest in that idea, not to understand it, but to feel it, to let it wash over you like the rhythm of your breath. You're not alone in time, you're part of its structure. And as you drift further into this thought, another image begins to form, not of pulses or crystals, but of memory, of illusion, of what it means to be present, what it means to feel time, even when it may not be as it seems. But that is the next chapter, the next whisper. You drift through the shimmer left behind by time crystals, through the thought that everything repeats, but never perfectly. That time may hum not as a straight arrow nor a rigid clock, but a rhythm. And yet, there is something even more intimate, more constant than repetition. Something your body knows better than any laboratory. You carry the past not in your muscles or your bones, but in your memory, not as motion, but as presence, as echo, as warmth. Close your eyes. Feel the memory of light behind them, a sun you once saw, a face that once smiled, a breath once held in the hush before a decision. These are not happening now, yet they live within you, soft shadows of time that walk beside your present self, speaking not in words but in weight, the gentle kind that fills your chest when you remember something beautiful or something gone. Is this not a kind of time travel? The way your mind loops backward, revisiting what once was and dresses it in meaning. You touch your memories gently now, as if turning the pages of a book you've read many times. Each word is familiar, but the way you feel it today is new. Memory isn't just a photograph, it's a living translation of your inner landscape. It changes as you change. What you remember isn't only the past, it is the version of yourself who remembers, and so the illusion begins. The belief that memory is fixed, that it plays like a recording on an old machine. But neuroscience says otherwise. Each time you recall something, you rewrite it slightly. Not because you are flawed, but because you are alive. Because your brain is an artist, not an archivist. It paints in feelings, not facts. You remember your childhood not as a timeline, but as colour, as laughter, as smell. Rain on tin, your grandmother's hands, the exact sky on the day you learned to ride a bike. Time blurs and blends in memory. It stretches and snaps, contracts and spirals. Why does a single minute in pain feel longer than an hour of joy? Why does grief last forever, but childhood slip away in seconds? The science is quiet, yet clear. Memory forms through networks, neurons firing in patterns shaped by emotion, attention, and repetition. Your hippocampus, nestled deep in your brain, helps consolidate these patterns into long-term memory. But what gets stored is not the full picture, only pieces, like stars remembered by their twinkle, not their exact place in the sky. And still, these pieces build the architecture of your identity. Who you are is not just what you've done, but what you've remembered. You move forward with a past tucked inside you. You carry places you've left, people who are no longer here, moments that changed you. But there's something else, something stranger. Your mind sometimes remembers things that never happened. It stitches fragments together. It fills in blanks. It believes dreams were real, and real things were dreams. And when it does this, it asks you to believe in the soft, uncertain fabric of time. You find yourself wondering, if memory is malleable, then what is real? And more tenderly, does it matter? Imagine standing on a beach at dusk. You remember this place, or think you do. The sound of the tide, the orange light, the feeling of sand between your fingers. But were you ever really there? Or is it an image your mind has assembled, stitched from a movie, a photo, a longing? And if it brings you peace, does its origin matter? Time, then, may live more in your mind than in the stars. The universe ticks with entropy, with motion, with measurable change. But your experience of it is filtered, shaped, softened by the curtain of consciousness. The brain doesn't record time, it feels it. Consider the present, this breath, this word, this moment. How long is it? A second? A heartbeat? Scientists call it the specious present, the span of time your mind considers to be now. For some, it's just a few seconds. For others, it stretches wider. It is not fixed. It shifts with mood, with focus, with need. When you are in danger, time seems to slow. Each detail sharpens. Each sound stretches. But when you are in flow, dancing, painting, laughing, hours vanish. This is not magic. It is biology. Your brain devotes more energy to awareness, or less. Your inner clock expands and contracts like breath. So what is time travel, truly? If you can return to a memory so vividly you cry, if you can imagine a future so clearly you prepare for it, if the present feels longer or shorter based on emotion, aren't you already moving through time? This is not fantasy. This is the quiet science of perception. Your brain contains no master clock. Instead, it uses multiple systems, pulses, rhythms, chemicals, to estimate time's passing. The cerebellum measures milliseconds, the basal ganglia track seconds, the prefrontal cortex projects hours, days, plans, and memory weaves through them all, colouring perception with what came before. Now you walk through your own memories as if through a museum, each one a room, some filled with light, others closed behind velvet ropes, some too sharp to visit often, others so faded you wonder if they ever existed. Yet they are all part of you. Memory is not just what you recall, it's how you understand. A conversation long past still shapes your beliefs. A kindness still warms your actions. A hurt still builds your boundaries. In this way, the past flows into the present, not by physics, but by presence. And illusion, that tricky word, is not always a lie. It can be the soft lens through which you survive. Your brain, after all, doesn't show you raw reality. It filters light, constructs colour, builds sound. You never see the world directly. You see your version of it, and that version is shaped by memory. This is why two people can experience the same moment and remember it differently. Memory is not a mirror. It is a watercolour, blurred by emotion, by meaning, by what came after. And yet, despite its softness, memory holds power. It can heal or haunt. It can guide or mislead. It can freeze you in place or help you move forward. It is both compass and anchor, both window and wall. In sleep, memory becomes even more mysterious. Dreams weave your recent experiences with the deep sea of older ones. Your brain replays, reorganizes, erases, strengthens. REM sleep, scientists believe, helps consolidate emotional memories. It's as if your mind is gardening in the night, pruning, watering, replanting. You've felt this, haven't you? How something that hurt yesterday feels less sharp after a good sleep. How a problem finds its solution by morning. How you wake with a phrase, a melody, a knowing you didn't have before. Is this not a journey through time, through emotional terrain, guided by memory and softened by illusion? You are not static. You're not stuck in the moment. Your mind drifts. Your heart remembers. You live not just in the present, but in all the moments that ripple through it. And now you consider the present again, this breath, this awareness. It is fleeting, yet it is all you ever have. The past is memory. The future is imagination. Only this instant is real, and yet you fill it with echoes and possibilities. This is the paradox of time. It moves forward, but you travel in every direction within it, through thought, through emotion, through meaning. As you lie here, breathing slowly, your mind may wander to a day long gone, or leap ahead to something hoped for. That is not a flaw. That is your nature. You are a being of time, not just in it, made of it. Formed by its passage, shaped by its rhythm, connected to its flow. And just as your memories shape your present, so too do your choices now shape the memory of who you are becoming. You are a loop, but not a closed one, a spiral, a growing ring on the tree of time. You rest in this thought, that the past is not behind you, but within you, that the present is not a point, but a pulse. That illusion is not falsehood, but interpretation. And as you soften into sleep, you feel something shift, not backward, not forward, but inward. A quiet awareness that what you are is more than neurons or memories or clocks. You're a story being told through time. And just before you drift further, another thought stirs, not of memory, but of return, of the dream of going back, of the longing many carry to revisit what once was, not just in mind, but in body. But that is the next chapter, another whisper. You stand now in the hush between everything that has passed and everything that has not yet arrived. Time no longer feels like a road beneath your feet. It becomes the air you breathe, the silence between each heartbeat, the warmth of a memory not yet faded. You're no longer chasing the past, nor running toward the future. You're simply here, still, present. And yet, within you, a question stirs like a breeze over quiet water. What would it mean to return? You have travelled far through this journey of time. Not with machines or wormholes or spinning black holes, but with thought, with attention, with the soft patience of listening. You've walked beside clocks that stretch and bend. You've stood near the lips of gravitational giants and felt time slow to near silence. You've glimpsed the strange possibility of patterns that beat without needing energy, time crystals ticking in the dark, and in all of it, one thread has wound gently around your being, a longing to know if time can truly be touched. The dream of returning, it is ancient. You see it in myths and stories, in the shimmer of nostalgia, in the wish to rewrite a single moment. You hear it in lullabies and regrets. You feel it in the ache of memory and the echo of voices now gone. And you wonder, is this dream a lie? Or is it simply misunderstood? You begin by imagining the paradoxes again. The butterfly that flaps its wings in the past and causes storms in the future. The child who meets their future self. The person who prevents their own birth. Your mind swirls with the strange knots of cause and effect. You reach out to untangle them, but they slip away. Not because they are too complex, but because they are built from assumptions. Assumptions that time is a line, that change must always follow order, that memory equals motion. But perhaps the dream of returning is not about physical travel. Perhaps it is about presence, about depth. You begin to consider, maybe returning is not about going back. Maybe it's about going in. You close your eyes, and suddenly you are there again. In a sunlit room, in a childhood garden, in the sound of a voice that shaped you. Your body hasn't moved, but something in you has shifted. The memory isn't just a recording, it's a reliving. Neurons fire in familiar patterns, emotions stir, muscles remember. In that moment, the past lives inside you, not as shadow, but as sensation. Is this time travel? Not by the physics of wormholes or machines, but by the softer science of the self. You begin to see that your brain, this web of cells and chemicals, is also a time machine. Not one that sends matter, but one that shapes meaning. One that carries echoes forward, folds moments inward, and lets you relive what has been. Carefully, quietly, in dreams, in memory, in feeling. Science, too, is beginning to understand this. Neuroscience shows how the brain reconstructs the past, not retrieves it. Each memory is not a static file, but a recreated scene, influenced by the present moment. You do not remember perfectly, but neither do you imagine entirely. You are always weaving, stitching together a self from threads of time. You think now of all the experiments you've drifted through in this journey. Time dilation near black holes, particles that move faster through gravity, light cones defining the edges of what can be touched. And yet, none of them felt as intimate, as immediate, as the memory of your own breath during your first snowfall. Of the way time stretches not in equations, but in experience. Even physics at its edge seems to sense this. Entropy gives time its arrow. Things move from ordered to disordered, from new to used. And yet life pushes against that current. You rebuild, you repair, you remember. In this there is resistance, not a reversal, but a rhythm. You begin to see, perhaps the dream of returning is not about going backward. It's about not losing. You hold this softly, like a feather in the palm. Time does not take everything. Some things remain. Stories, songs, acts of love, choices. They persist in the minds of others, in the ripples they leave behind, in the subtle shifts they cause in the future. This too is a kind of return, not to where you were, but to who you are. And so you let the paradoxes rest. You stop chasing the spiral of logic that insists time must be a loop or a trap. Instead, you rest in the idea that time is a field, and you are part of its flowering. You dream now not of machines, but of gardens, of places in your heart that still grow, long after the moment has passed. You walk through memory not as a ghost, but as a gardener, each step attending, each breath a planting, each thought a watering of something deep and ancient and alive. What if the present is where all timelines meet? What if the only real return is returning to this breath, this heartbeat, this choice? You sit now in that stillness. The stars above you do not rush. They shimmer slowly. Time is not pushing. It is holding. It is not something to conquer. It is something to companion. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not lost. You are here. You are part of the great unfolding. And in this, you find the truth you've been circling since the first chapter. Time is not something you move through. Time is something that moves through you, like music, like wind, like love. You feel your breath rise and fall. You feel the pulse in your fingers. You feel the quiet hum of being. This is not the end. This is not the beginning. This is the whole circle, drawn gently in the air dot. You lie back now and close your eyes. You're not seeking the past. You're not fearing the future. You are letting go. And in this release you feel a strange and perfect peace, not in turning time, but in travelling deeply within it. You drift, not backward or forward, but inward, into the rhythm, into the knowing, into the dream that never needed to be real to be beautiful, the dream of returning. And as you soften into this final thought, you realize some dreams are not meant to be answered, only lived, only felt, only held. The story doesn't end. It breathes like you. And so, dear traveller, we arrive at the quiet edge of wonder. You have walked through the corridors of time, not as a scientist, not as a historian, but as a soul listening closely. You've stood near wormholes and wandered through memory. You've touched the shimmer of frozen clocks, tiptoed through the curves of space, and learned that time is not always a line. Sometimes it's a spiral, a breath, a story. You are not lost in time. You're written by it, held by it, carried forward by the rhythm of something vast and gentle. And now, as your eyelids grow heavy and your thoughts grow soft, remember, the journey never truly ends. It only folds, like a note placed between pages, a whisper tucked into the folds of sleep. Thank you for listening, for travelling gently through this tale with your heart open and your curiosity awake. I hope these whispers of science and soul have lit something quiet within you, a question, a comfort, a sense of wonder that stays even after the words fade. There is always more to explore, more mysteries, more chapters yet to be written, not just in the universe, but in you. So stay tuned for what comes next. Until then, rest easy, float with time, not against it, and don't forget, if this journey touched you, if you felt something shift in your understanding or in your heart, subscribe and share it with someone who still believes in wonder. But for now, close your eyes, let the stars hold you. And until the next whisper arrives, good night.